Welcome to the Your Music Industry Podcast.
The podcast that gives you a direct route into the music industry's greatest minds. Your Music Industry is proudly brought to you by the Liverpool Audio Network with your host, Daniel Fisher-Jones.
Welcome, I can't say big enough welcome, and thank you to everyone listening to this episode. For 3 whole months, the team hasn't stopped with the initial development of Your Music Industry, and as of today, the journey begins. Each Sunday, we're going to be releasing an episode giving you a direct line into one of our music industry's greatest minds, from audio engineers and DJs to music marketers and even event promoters. The mission of Your Music Industry is to create a platform to enable you to not only learn about the journeys of successful people in our industry, but also for you to take in nuggets of wisdom which you can apply to your own career and life. If you have any guest requests, head over to yourmusicindustry.com and use the request a guest form, or simply hashtag Your Music Industry. So before I introduce our first guest of the show, I want to say an absolutely huge thank you to this episode's sponsor. By supporting this podcast, they're supporting your growth as an artist and as an individual. As a creative artist in the world of sound, you need the best tools for the job. Some of those tools will include the likes of VST synths and sound files, aka samples. Splice is the subscription platform for exactly that. With a vast array of over 1 million samples, they cater to every genre and creative spark. Each sample is thoroughly tagged, enabling you to smoothly explore their whole library. Having tags such as the key of the sample, you have the power to explore an array of samples that harmonically resonate with your track. With the filtered search in seconds, you can be finding inspiration and sample files that not only harmonically fit with your track, but are also of extreme high quality. Splice Sounds comes in the form of a monthly subscription, which, for only $7.99 a month, gives you access to this whole sound library. And on top of that, Splice have kindly offered every single listener of this podcast 1 free month. Use the code LiverpoolAudio to obtain your free month, or head over to splice.com/Liverpool-audio. Just before I announce our first guest, I'd like to mention that the recording for this episode is rather reverberant. Since the recording of this episode, we've been experimenting with different spaces and mics, so enjoy this rather roomy sounding episode. Anyway, back to the intros. When Phil and I sat down and explored who'd be perfect for the first episode of the show, we both really weirdly suggested the same duo at the same time. From a humble start of organising raves together under the name of AV Verde, to most recently releasing a train of Techno Dominators, to even receiving support from techno heavyweight Alan Fitzpatrick, it's a pleasure to introduce this episode's guest, KUSP.
Let's start at the beginning. KUSP. Where did it all begin? How did you find each other, or what was the journey at the start?
Take it way back. Me and Luke, we've been friends for years. I mean, we met on MSN Messenger, and for all those who don't remember what that is, or are too young to remember what that is, it's basically like
an old version of Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook Messenger before Facebook was invented, basically. Yeah. Luke and I both went to creative training, but like a year apart.
If anyone doesn't know what that is, that's an old DJ school that used to be popular in Liverpool, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
I'm not sure if it's still going now, but a lot of MCs and DJs used to go there.
Yeah, it was on Ball Street, and then it moved over to a different site. And then I think friends of ours who were kind of in between when I left and Luke started kind of put us both in contact because they knew that we wanted to put a night on together. And then we got in touch, started talking, and we'd thrown in the night. Our first night was in Hoylake in Bar 1, was it?
Yeah, Bar 1 in Hoylake. I think there was only like 1 or 2 other bars there, but
yeah, I think,
good, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think at the time, like mentioning no names, there was some DJs who were playing on local radio stations, fairly big DJs who were like kind of fishing for information out of us about like what the market was like over there and whether there was a big crowd, and they kept promising gigs and guest mixes and all this, that and the other. Anyway, they ended up starting their own night in a bar just down the road, which rivaled our night. Basically, I think our launch party was on like Halloween or something.
Halloween, yeah. Sex Lives and Funky House it was called.
Oh, that's so cringy, though.
So I got the poster somewhere.
Yeah, and anyway, to cut a long story short, their night absolutely flopped because they tried to basically dog us out of a gig, and our night was absolutely heaving. We had a queue going around the corner, and then
it's like a first of its kind for that area.
Yeah. And it just stemmed from there, really. We started DJing in all places all around Birkenhead, Wirral, Liverpool together, and then we kind of we got more into like the underground side of things, and that's when we started AV Verde. AV Verde's about 8 years old now.
I think we started it in 2011 or 2012.
Yeah, and it just started. We were like we had a big group of mates who were all religiously used to go to a circus.
I think we all put like 120 quid in each, and it hired us the Function One sound system and some basic lights and decks and stuff like that.
Yeah, so there was about 8 of us, I'd say, about 8 of us. We found the venue, and like when we used to go to circus, I mean, we used to bump into like about 100 people that we used to know, and Yusuf tend to go like over to Ibiza and play a lot of gigs in the summer. So that like kind of left like a little bit of gap in terms of nights for people to go to, and we just wanted to throw a good party for our mates and showcase what we were about. And that's where the whole idea come from. And we found a little terrace outside. There's like a big massive wooden gazebo. We stuck a Function One rig in there. And
I don't think anyone had done like a house or techno event in Birkenhead since maybe the Drome or...
since the Drome. Since the Drome. So
it was a risky one.
Yeah, but where the mouth grew, and it just went from strength to strength, and we started, even on the residence parties, without pulling in like any bookings, we were pulling in like 250 heads.
Between 200 and 300 each one.
Yeah,
that's good.
Which is pretty good. And then...
We'd have free barbecue and stuff like that, wouldn't we?
Yeah. Also good incentives.
That kind of thing grew. But along the way, I was doing a solo thing, like making music, but not finishing any music and not really getting anywhere with it. And then, Luke, you joined like a 3-piece, didn't you?
Yeah, I was part of It Makes No Sense. I mean, we used to be on like Shadow Charge label, Food Music.
Oh, wow.
And we even got to be residents at Circus in Shibuku, so that was good. It was a good thing when it lasted.
Yeah. The only thing that kind of stifled you was the releases, wasn't it? You didn't have it was just getting together and making tracks together and getting in the same space. Yeah. Go on, sorry, mate.
Kind of put too much pressure on ourselves. We had no back catalogue, if that makes sense. We released on a big label, one of our first ever EPs, but had nothing to follow it up. So kind of from there it started dying off. But yeah, what was you saying?
Hang on, just trying to recollect the thought. And from there, like kind of, I'd said to myself. Obviously, I work as a chef. There's a lot of similarities between making music and cooking food, in my opinion. But I made like kind of a pact with myself that if I hadn't made it in the music industry by the age of 25, I was going to call it quits and just focus on my career in catering. And hit 25 and carried on, working silly amounts of hours every single week, like 80 hours a week. And then last year, around about October time, I revisited making music again and just really got smack bang into it again. And then at the beginning of the year, I know, Luke, you had like a lot of studio gear and stuff like that, didn't you? That was just kind of lying around. You weren't making any music.
I got loads of new stuff to try and basically get myself back into it, like as a bit of inspiration. To start having a little play on new equipment and stuff, and I never really got back into it. So I'd done a course with Paul, just to get some workflow tips and stuff like that, just to kind of refresh myself on the whole music production thing. And I really enjoyed it, and I showed you some of the videos, didn't I? And
then I ended up doing some sessions with him as well. So that's where like kind of the way that we work is we're kind of like almost synonymous with each other, because we've both been through that journey with Paul Nolan and use all of his workflow tips and stuff like that. But yeah.
So when did you first sit down making music together?
It was just kind of like, I think it was out of, when was it? At the very beginning of the year?
I think the first ever one was just before Christmas. But there was nothing really. think it was more, I had a couple of days off and so did you, and
and
I think they got together, didn't we? And it just started from there.
It was more out of frustration more than anything, because we both wanted to make music, but we just didn't have kind of the platform to do it, and having each other there was just kind of egging us on. And it just started off just as purely just two mates having a mess about, seeing what we could come up with. And I've always fully been behind Makes No Sense and Luke's project on the side with that, and and then our first ever track, which kind of inspired by a gig that we threw back in the summer with we give Emily Lenz a UK debut in the Priory, which is like a big kind of like open air church, if you know what I mean. I think it's like the oldest standing building in Merseyside, so it was like an event that was like the first of its kind. And the inspiration for the track was obviously called the Priory, and we come up with that, and then we just kind of just kept going in the same direction and seeing what else we could come up with. But I think a lot of our music kind of stems from personal experiences that we've had or places that we've been to.
Yeah, a lot of it's got like a story behind it, and we try and name our tracks after an experience or something we've had or a club we've been to. Yeah.
I mean, like the B-side track on the first EP, on the Priory EP, was Arena. The reason why we called it Arena is because we went to Berlin one year and spent New Year's Eve in an arena club. We went to Height, didn't we?
Yeah, it was New Year's Day, wasn't it?
Yeah, New Year's Day.
Ricardo was on.
Yeah, Ricardo. But I remember walking in there and Dorian Pike was playing like really like kind of like dubby groove, kind of stripped back techno, and it was just like we walked in there and we were like, yeah, this is.
You could just feel it going through your chest.
This is our home for the night, and like kind of when we made that track, that's like kind of the feeling that we got while we were making it, if you know what I mean. So yeah, we always try to invoke like memories or experiences or things like that into some of our music, just because we find it has more purpose that way, and it has more of an authentic kind of message, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think one thing I'd like to touch back up on is when you said about food and DJing and production. Like, how do you feel like they fit together? Do they resonate together?
If you're going to cook food, 9 times out of 10, you get you do all your prep. You chop your onions, you get your meat together, you get your spices, you get this, that, and the other. You weigh it all out, you get a recipe. So I find making music is in a similar sense. Is kind of like that, you get all your elements together, you get your drums together, your kick drum. Once you got all your parts, you work out what you want, what you don't want, and then you go and cook.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
You still can't cook. He's a good cook.
So and another thing that we try to do as well is like a lot of the time we try to be quite organic with the sounds in our palette. So, say for instance, instead of going into like a sample pack and grabbing a riser, we'll throw a big sweaty wet reverb on something and make a riser out of that. Or like kind of, I think in the past we've made like using a vocoder, made like drum samples out of just banging things through a big ping pong delay.
Of processing and
Yeah, and out of a vocal on a ping pong delay, and then throwing a vocoder on it and stuff like that. Yeah, we try to approach it like quite organically, and like comes back to cooking again. Like kind of, I think the mantra with cooking is like kind of you don't want to waste anything, you don't want to throw anything away. So that kind of gets incorporated back into the music as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah,
I think briefly you touched up on how your track names come from experiences. I know your latest release is Paradigm Shift from July. What's the story behind that?
The story behind that was, I think it was just kind of like we obviously produced the stuff for the first EP, and then we realised that this is like the transition from me being solo, him being part of Makes No Sense, and this is the transition now into this new project, if that makes sense. Because it was a little bit weird at first, obviously telling all of our friends who, because I'm really good mates with Todd and Danny, who are part of Makes No Sense and stuff like that. And it was
a little bit awkward at first, wasn't it? But
it just kind of, that was the idea behind it. It was like kind of, this is us shifting into a new time, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So KUSP, what does that even mean? Like, it's a really interesting, unique name. How did it come?
There's a couple of meanings, isn't there, really? I mean, there's one of them is like being on the cusp of something big.
On the edge. Yeah, quite edgy, you know what I mean?
Then there's like another deeper meaning, isn't it, which is being two arcs that come together, is it?
Yeah, two intersecting arcs that make a point.
Wow.
So that was kind of the idea behind it, because we've been friends for like, 10, 15 years or whatever.
Yeah, easy, yeah.
But we've never actually approached making music together before. We've always DJ'd together, promoted night together. But we've never actually got together in the studio and made music together. And it seemed like when we did, good things were starting to happen. So we wanted to kind of like, portray that in the name, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I love the concept, I'm not going to lie.
We tried to incorporate it into our logo as well, didn't we? Have you seen like the way the two things come together? The two, what are they? Like circles or they come together and like triangles in the middle, is it?
Yeah. There's two triangles and two circles, and that's supposed to. We spoke to our graphic designer. We give him the dictionary definition of what it meant, and that's what he come back with, and that's kind of like symbolises our name basically. Yeah. So we wanted it to have a fairly a meaning behind it, not just just whatever. So
it's like you make all your tunes and EPs and whatever, but like, that's one of the hardest parts, isn't it? Getting a good name that means something.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think we started off with just wanting something like quite stripped back, like a 4-letter word, and then we come across that, and then we were like, we looked at it, wrote it down on a piece of paper, and we're like, we need to change the C to a K. Yeah, and that's where it went.
If you had to define like your sound as an artist to like the a fusion of 3 artists already in the industry, whether famous, whether unknown, who would they be?
I think a big influence at the minute has been Cleric, hasn't he?
Yeah, Cleric, definitely, yeah.
Definitely Emily Lenz, I'd say.
Yeah, Emily Lenz, and just trying to think of another one. I mean, Spectre have also like been an influence on us with their kind of like futuristic kind of sounds. And I know Paul Maddox does a lot of tutorials and stuff like that, which obviously has helped us along the way, taking a transition from... Because I come from a background of like house music, basically. And then we kind of like transitioned into techno. I've always been into techno, I've just never approached making it before. But I think it suits our style a lot more. Like the darker kind of vibes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, like I've been through certain tough times in my life where I've had like depression and things like that, and I've fallen on some quite hard times. So I think like kind of again, it's about pulling those like kind of experiences and putting that and expressing that into the music, which kind of comes across like with the darker aspect and melodies and stuff like that. It kind of translates better with techno. I mean, I was always into house music beforehand. I was a big, massive lover of house music, but I just, I don't know, maybe I was too attached to it or something. But when I made the transition over to techno, it was like things just started to happen, and it was just so much easier to express myself. So, or ourselves even.
Talk us through when you're in the studio. Like, how do you know when a track's finished? Like, it's a tough question. When do you know when to stop? Because I'm sure you can keep working on it forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, it is. It can be like a never-ending process sometimes.
I think I come into it a bit there as well, because you're a bit more of a like perfectionist than I am, aren't you? Really? And I'll sometimes say that's good the way it is.
Yeah. I think you kind of have to do that when you're making music. Is not to if you can commit things to audio, sometimes it can help. Just so you're not fiddling around endlessly, you know what I mean? And sometimes you've got to have in the back of your mind like 7 out of 10 is good enough, you know what I mean? Because sometimes, your 6 or 7 out of 10 might be somebody else's gold, do you know what I mean?
Put it this way, we thought Paradigm Shift. I mean, I had a big beef for that tune, didn't I?
Yeah, we thought it was our worst track.
And it ended up number 8 in track source, which we never expected at all.
Yeah, well done on that, guys. Yeah. That's fantastic.
And it's, on Spotify as well, it's had the most number of streams that we've had so far. So, it's strange. I mean, sometimes you think, you're onto a winner, and then it gets released and it doesn't do very well. Sometimes you think your track's a bit crap, and then it ends up, doing better than the others. It's strange in that sense. A lot of the time as well, when we make music, we tend to make more ideas than what we actually need, and then it's a process of just refining everything. Do you know what I mean? And then we'll scrap things along the way.
A lot of the time,
it's just finding that hook, isn't it?
You'll start something, then we come together, and then I kind of mix it down and get the warm sounding coming out, like the warmth coming out of the track, don't I, really?
Yeah, but yeah, and Luke kind of, I'll create a loads of ideas, and then we'll get there, and then we'll refine it, and Luke says, no, that's good, that's not good, this is good, that's good, and then we kind of work on it, or we try and develop an idea from there, because I don't know, I always find the direction when there's two people bouncing off each other, you always end up with a better end product. I think the tracks that we've actually sat down and made from start to finish together, they're the best ones. Yeah, they always tend to be the best ones, definitely. Yeah.
I hope you're enjoying this insightful chat with KUSP. Let us know what you think over on our social media streams with the hashtag #YourMusicIndustry or @LiverpoolAudio. I also want to quickly point out that you can find all the show notes, links to KUSP's latest releases and much more at yourmusicindustry.com/KUSP. I'd also like to once again thank our sponsor Splice for this episode, as it wouldn't be possible without them. Make sure you get your free month today at splice.com/Liverpool-audio.
So let's explore that a bit more, because I know there's a lot of producers that are working on their own in the studios all the time. Like, what other benefits are there to being in a duo?
The obvious ones is you got two people networking, you've got two people running social media, you've got one person who can mix down, another one who can get ideas together.
You've also got two sets of contacts that I know a lot of people, and Jack knows a lot of people that I don't know. If that makes sense. So
yeah, for instance, like Luke deals with certain label owners that I don't really have contact with, and I deal with certain label owners that Luke doesn't have contact with, and it just helps. He knows a load of promoters that I don't know. I know promoters that he doesn't know, etc. It just helps, definitely, and especially when it comes to like DJing as well in a live set. It can be quite exciting sometimes, because you can be unsure of what direction that you want to take it in.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like kind of Luke will take a left turn or I'll take a right turn, and then it's like, oh, so we're going there, are we? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's almost like, how can I explain it? It's almost like, I don't know, playing ping pong together. I've got a ball and a bat, and I'm going to bat the ball to you, and now you bat it back, basically. You know what I mean? And you just kind of, you bounce off each other, and then he'll play a track, and I'll think, oh, I've got a track that goes really well with that, and it just seems to work. You know what I mean?
In the production process, are you always working together, or is like one another working on tracks, and then you come together at one point and be like, I've worked on this, what do you think? So
we try and be together most of the time, because obviously the studios is in my house, and but obviously sometimes we're both not free at the same time, so Jack will start something, I'll start something, or I'll finish something, or just work on something. We're not always together, but we try and be most of the time, don't we?
Yeah.
At least a couple of days a week.
Yeah, thank God for collect all and save and drop out. Yeah, it's just one of them, yeah. So if we can't be together at the same time, and a lot of the time, if I just, if I get that, you never kind of know when you get that spark of inspiration. Sometimes you can be listening to a DJ mix, listening to another producer's songs, listening to a completely different genre. You get that spark of inspiration, and then all of a sudden it's just like, you can go from times where you can knock like 3 tracks out in as many days, or 2 in a day, to doing like maybe 1 in a fortnight. You know what I mean? So it's just really inconsistent. So if the ideas are flowing, then I'll just try and get as many projects together. With like no goal at the end of it other than just to get parts together. Like I was saying before, it comes back to like the cooking aspect of things, just getting all of your ingredients laid out, and then that's when we'll kind of take it into the studio and refine everything from there. The biggest struggle was finishing music. I didn't actually finish a track until the age of 30. You know what I mean? I'm 31 now, so yeah, which is like last year. Up until last year, I hadn't finished one single track. And then after going and seeing Paul, things have just started to happen. You know, he works a lot on like workflow techniques and stuff like that, like, you know, like saving all your drum racks, saving any sounds that might be interesting. You know, not every single label session has to result in making a song. You know, you can be putting sounds together, just working on sound design without any goal in mind at the end of it. Just something
experiment, really, isn't it?
Yeah, something to use for another day, for another project.
A lot of our stuff, like if we say we paradigm shift, we save them drums, we save the drum racks, and then when we start another track, we can just load them drum racks straight in, rather than spending 2-3 hours making another drum rack, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we kind of have like an auto load of all our favourite delays, like a New York / parallel compression bus settle, stuff like that. That always comes in handy, you know, a big reverb, a room reverb, a drum reverb, etc. You know, and at the end of the day, if you're making drums, you're probably going to process them all in a very, very similar way. So, you know, you're going to EQ them similarly. You know, you're probably going to add the same distortion or saturation or whatever it is. And, you know, generally it'll probably take you about an hour and a half to set all those drums up. And then it's not only that, it's selecting all of the sounds as well. We tend to use a lot of 909s a lot of the time. So if you save your drum racks, you know, you just saved yourself like 2 hours. You know what I mean? 2.5 hours. And then we'll just we'll make any changes on the fly. If we feel like we need to change the drum sound, we'll change it from there. And it just seems to make things happen a lot faster. You know what I mean? But yeah.
So in terms of, you mentioned you got 30 tracks in your backlog. That's a lot of tracks.
It is, isn't it?
How are you approaching labels with them? Have you got anything that works in a way? Or
we've got a release on Respect coming up. That's going to be later this year. And then we're in talks, aren't we, with two other labels. Can't really say much at the minute. But they're good labels, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They're good labels.
That's going to take up the remainder of the tractor thing.
Yeah, a lot of the time as well, when you're making so many tracks, it's like kind of, when we approach making music, we just kind of let whatever it is that we're inspired by come out, rather than trying to stay like really, really niche. Like sometimes we'll make like a melodic track, sometimes we'll make like a quite hypnotic track, sometimes we'll make like really kind of underground sounding tracks, etc. I think, you know, once you start building that back catalogue, you can kind of get a grasp. Once you know what all your labels are, roughly your target labels, you can kind of start getting a grasp on where those tracks will fit, if that makes sense. So that's what we tend to do now. That's been like part of the learning curve process, if you like. So we kind of, you know, like our bigger room style sound and stuff, you know, we'll go to a big room label, etc. But yeah. Hopefully the rest of the tracks should start dropping later this year.
Okay.
That's all we can say now, really, isn't it?
We've got a few bits and bobs. I mean, we've got a couple of remixes, a couple of like single track releases to tide us over till the end of the year. And then next year, the aim is to just push on with as many EPs to tide us up until the summer next summer. By that time, you know, the plan is to, you know, catch the eyes of promoters, you know, via, you know, Beatport, download sites, etc. And take things from there, really, and you know, hopefully the gigs will start to pick up. I mean, the gigs are picking up, you know, each week, but you know, we want it to be more frequent. So.
So in terms of actually the labels themselves, do you know all the label owners like personally, or is it more of like a digital online sort of thing? Or
it's kind of like I've been speaking to a few people. I know Boxia. He's helped us out a lot.
From food, isn't it? From the food thing?
Because Boxia was on Food Music as well, so that's kind of how I know him. He's helped us out a lot by just giving us contacts, and obviously he's been playing our music, so...
he's a great guy. Like I can't thank him enough for, you know, the support that he's given us, and it's rare in this day and age, really, to see like such a, you know, the guys are signed to like...
He's on Drum Code, isn't he?
Yeah, Drum Code,
you can make all the tracks you want, but the hardest part of the whole process is getting your tracks listened to. Obviously, because these labels are getting hundreds of demos a week, obviously they haven't got the time to listen to every single one. So I think by word of mouth is the best way of getting signed, isn't it?
And I think, you know, a lot of record labels nowadays are lazy, you know what I mean? They kind of want all of the promo work to be done for them, you know. They were, you know, I know they like exclusivity on certain tracks, but I mean, if you can get a big DJ playing one of your songs, and there's a video of it, and it's there, and then you approach a record label and say, this artist is on your label and he's playing this track, do you want to sign it? It gives you a lot more leverage than kind of than just going at them from purely like almost like a stranger, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. It also helps if you can put, when you send an email, if you can put in the title support from, say, Boxia, because then it catches your eye, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's
rather than just demos from KUSP.
Yeah,
you can put early support from Boxia in the title.
Yeah, another thing as well, he actually played one of our tracks on Radio 1, which was unreal. Like, I couldn't believe it. You know, we went from like kind of, you know, when did we start? Like around about April time officially.
Yeah.
To what, like he played it about a month ago. So like back in July. Within 3-4 months, you know, we've got a track played on Radio 1. And sometimes you have to pinch yourself a little bit sometimes, don't you? So that was a bit surreal.
We've got a publisher, Mark Lawrence. He's like, he runs IMS. Is he run IMS or is he just involved in it?
He's involved in IMS, and he's it says on his email, a proud member of AFEM, which is the Association of Electronic Music Foundation.
He's got a publishing company called Black Rock, and he's helped us out a little bit as well, hasn't he, with getting in touch with certain people and just pointing us out in the right direction of labels and stuff. He's been a big help as well.
Not only that, he's on the ball as well. So like, kind of, if a big DJ plays one of our tracks, he's like, oh, straight away. Like,
last week Alan Fitzpatrick played. We done an edit of Underworld, Born Slippy. Alan Fitzpatrick played that on his podcast, and within like 10 minutes of it being uploaded, Mark had emailed us saying, "Listen," and sent us a link. I was like, I can't believe that. Like.
So, I don't know, he must have some kind of like advanced version of Shazam, checking out every single podcast on the internet or something. But yeah, he's really on the ball. He's helped us out loads. And obviously he's the guy who collects, you know, like royalties and stuff like that for us. So, you know, it's good to have somebody like that who kind of believes in you as well. You know, it makes massive difference knowing that you've got people in your corner, like, you know, kind of like cheering you on, if that makes sense. Yeah. Egging you on.
We're building a nice team around us, aren't we, really? And it's everyone helps in their own little way. So it's not just us, it is other people as well.
So on the Mark Lawrence side of things, having a publisher, I don't know many people at your level who've got some sort of publisher or publishing deal behind them. How did you actually get that? How did you initiate contact with Mark? Did someone kind of get you in there, or did he find your music and be like, wow, I love these lads?
Mark posted a status on Facebook about wanting... Basically, he's got a record label that he's involved with called Connect. He was looking for new artists, and...
a friend of ours put our name through, didn't she?
Yeah. Helen put our name forward. And then he emailed us straight back. It was like 2 things. I want to sign some music for your record label. Second thing, do you want to join Black Rock Music Publishing? Off the back of, obviously, the demos that we'd sent to. So that's where that come from.
Yeah, that word of mouth really is.
It's one of the main parts of actually getting signed on, you know, making it somewhere in this industry. I mean, you can't do it on your own. You need a good team of people around you, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, and the network as well.
Definitely,
It's all about networking.
I think it'd be nice to talk about kind of your creativity and your productivity. I know you've had a lot of like mentoring from Paul on this, but when you're feeling kind of like overwhelmed or unfocused, or you've got that creative block, what do you do? I know being in a duo, probably it's a lot easier than being on your own, but what approaches do you two take?
Me personally, I if it's really, really not happening, I'm banging my head against the wall, I'll take a quick break, whether that be an hour or a day or whatever. Take a break, do something else for a bit, you know, go for a walk, go for a jog, whatever. Just try and clear your head for a bit. And 9 times out of 10, when you come back, you're a little bit refreshed. And then other times, it's like kind of...
listening to a different type of music helps a lot as well.
Yeah.
I very rarely listen to techno. Say if I'm in the car, I'll listen to maybe like OMD or like an 80s band or something, you know what I mean? Or like a Tribe Called Quest, I listen to them a lot. And get a lot of inspiration from stuff like that as well.
Yeah, it's when it's not happening, you're on the chase for that spark of inspiration. And sometimes, it can be listening to a DJ set. Sometimes it can be listening to a completely different genre of music. Sometimes it can just be something that just inspires you, and then all of a sudden, you're off. You're at the races, and you all of a sudden, once that. It's not like a tap. You can't turn it on and off. So when it's going, you have to really kind of make the most of it. If that makes sense.
Like the other night, I messaged Jack with an idea, and I was listening to Scouse House, wasn't I?
yeah. But it's just even like little bits of vocals here and there that have been, like even from like old hip hop dubs and old trance tunes, and it can literally be from anything. You know what I mean?
I bought a Moog that's featured in a lot of our tracks, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Obviously, we've just got rid of that to upgrade to something else. We've just bought Complete Control and the Complete Control. So, that's already done our last 3 tracks.
Yeah. It's the only way I can try and describe having Complete is like when you're used to watching like Freeview on the telly and you get Sky and you've got that many channels, you don't know what to do. There's that many synths, that many VSTs and that many presets to like go through.
I think we're always like buying and selling equipment to just try different stuff out rather than buying it and having loads of equipment mounting up everywhere.
I think the big thing as well when it comes to buying hardware like that we've kind of struggled with is like kind of, it has to be quite intuitive. It has to be something that you can just pull out of a box, plug it in and start playing it straight away without having to read the manual. Like kind of if you have to do too much and get under the hood before you can even use the thing, then it just doesn't really appeal to us in that sense, does it? You know what I mean? We just want, stuff that is just there and you can instantly get inspiration from it. There and then. I mean, we were using Ableton Push, which is a good piece of kit. It really is a good piece of kit, especially if we're recording like automation and things like that. You can record and add a little bit more of a human element into things. But that you can do all on a MIDI keyboard anyway. You know what I mean?
We started dipping into buying software as well. Like the Arturia collection.
Yeah.
That's like got all the old synths from like Juno, what else? The Prophet.
Yeah,
the CS80.
The Mini Moog.
Yeah. A lot of old school synths in there, but as a software version.
Yeah, I've got it myself.
And it does sound amazing.
Yeah, they're brilliant. And we use for processing a lot of plugins like all the D16 stuff's amazing, really amazing. We use like Fab Filter for a lot of like Subtractor EQing and stuff like that. Back when we was first making tracks in the studio, I think it was around about April time, I was just coming to the end of my course with Paul, and we got about 3 or 4 tracks together, hadn't we? And we just decided, right, now's probably a good time as any to put them up on SoundCloud. So we did that. We put, we clipped them and done like little preview clips, like 3-minute clips, put them all onto SoundCloud, uploaded them. We just finished the track. And Luke said, I'll drop you off. So he dropped me off at mine. It's like a 20 minute drive. Yeah, 20-minute drive. In between the time of uploading, literally just as we left the studio, and the time of getting home, there was already somebody who contacted us wanting to sign one of the tracks. Wow. And I was like, oh my God. And that's kind of like when we knew.
That was our first EP, which is out now, the Priory.
The Priory, yeah.
Priory EP, yeah. That was the first one.
Yeah, it was Lewis Delay. He's the guy who runs the label.
He's from Malaga in Spain.
Yeah. And Sonus Field is the name of the label. But it's doing quite well. I mean, he's got some really exciting artists on there now as well.
Wow, what a conversation with KUSP. My personal highlight was when Jack was comparing how making music is similar to making food. So what did you think of the show? Make sure you let us know on our social media streams with #YourMusicIndustry or @LiverpoolAudio. Have you got a guest you'd love to be on the show? Make sure you head over to yourmusicindustry.com and fill out the request a guest form to let us know. Once again, I'd like to say thank you to Splice for sponsoring this episode. I couldn't recommend you checking out their platform more. Make sure you cash in on using your free month to test out some of their high quality samples in your projects. And don't forget to pass on the code to any of your producer friends to make sure everyone takes hold of this opportunity. finally, I'd like to say a huge thank you to you for listening. And don't forget, Your Music Industry returns every Sunday with a new episode, giving you an insight into someone's journey to success within the music industry. See you all then.